During the Song Dynasty, he lost his sight in a minor car accident and was taken home by his fiancée to recuperate. During their recovery period, the two of them had a period of honeymoon and decided to get married before the surgery. After the surgery, Song Shiwei discovered that her husband, who was constantly entangled with her, was actually a biological uncle with a blood relationship with her fiancée. She married the wrong person and gave the wrong heart. During the Song Dynasty, he was slightly panicked and left without hesitation. Yuan has had a cold heart and lungs since childhood, and he looks down on no one, let alone takes it to heart. Until that day, when he brought his nephew's fiancée home, suddenly a voice hit his heart and lungs. He said that he usually loves his little nephew so much, so it shouldn't be too much for him to be his fiancée. The wrong beginning is destined to be a tragedy, but he must taste the sweetness of love in this tragedy. Pseudo male second in power pseudo forceful seizure marriage before love from the perspective of the female lead, and premeditated from the perspective of the male lead. Chapter 1. Upward Kinship. You are listening at novel full.audio. The cold-toned room only had one reading light on. Song Shiwei knelt on the bed and spread out the red envelopes in his arms one by one, placing them in front of him. No one doesn't like the free money, and the woman happily said to the man sitting by the bedside, "Help me count how much money." The man chuckled softly in the shadow, but he didn't move. He just said, "Counting red envelopes is boring. Let's play a game." "What game?" "Guess the amount." "Okay, let me guess." Song Shiwei casually grabbed a red envelope and felt the thickness, then confidently said, "I guess there are 10,000 yuan in this red envelope." The man smiled again, with a hint of playfulness in his voice. "You're great, but you guessed wrong." Saying she was wrong without even counting, Song Shiwei was not convinced. She deftly opened the red envelope and found that it was not money, but a flat jewelry box inside. Song Shiwei groped to open the jewelry box, and the man continued, "C's new bracelet is priced at 120,000 yuan. That is to say, even if the bracelet is converted into money, her guess of the amount is still wrong." But she still felt happy and congratulated her newlywed with such an expensive gift, showing a hint of sincerity. That's right. Today is her first time returning to her old house after marrying Heng, and the red envelope was collected at a family banquet. Unable to put it down, Song Shi gently rubbed another red envelope, intending to continue guessing. The man straightened his waist and gently placed his hand on Song Shiwei's hand to stop, saying, "Games need to have good luck to be fun. Guessing wrong will result in punishment. Guessing right will reward you. How about that?" "What reward?" "I'll double the red envelope for you." "What about guessing wrong?" Song Shiwei is confident, but not conceited. She can't see with her eyes and doesn't often touch money. The probability of being wrong is definitely higher than the probability. Asking about the reward and punishment system in advance can also avoid losses. The man smiled and played with Song Shiwei's finger, saying, "Wrong, give me a kiss." That is to say, "Wrong kiss, right, give her double the red envelope. What's the difference between this and getting a white wolf empty-handed?" Song Shiwei grabbed the man's hand and rubbed his knee to move to the head of the bed, quickly giving him a kiss on the side. When planning to return, he was restrained by the man and lifted his waist up, dissatisfied, and said, "Kiss me up." During the Song Dynasty, he unconsciously approached, but quickly retreated. It's still early now, and the room is located at the staircase. If there is any noise, it will inevitably be laughed at by others. Song Shi gave the man a gentle push and whispered, "There's someone outside, let's be a little late." The man suddenly tightened his grip on the woman's waist and threatened, "I'm willing to give up. If you don't cash it out, I'll take it myself." Wait for him to take it, the noise will only get bigger. Song Shiwei hesitated for only half a second before reluctantly holding the man's face and deeply kissing him. She is not very skilled, only able to bite and suck hard on one spot, but the just right amount of raw and numbness can stimulate the most primitive desires of men. Men do not restrain their desires and turn their backs on others. It is precisely the strong affection. Outside the door came the voice of Lu Mu, who seemed to be asking someone, "Has the sobering soup been sent to Lu Heng?" For a moment, the chaotic consciousness regained consciousness. Song Shi pushed the man slightly with a soft voice and said, "Wait, Mom, has someone send you sobering soup?" The man couldn't refuse to pinch Song Shi's chin and continued to conquer the city and territory. In the grinding room, 4 words could be pieced together from his delicate breathing. "You heard it wrong. Misheard. Impossible." The ears and sense of smell of blind people are particularly sensitive, and they can never hear wrong. She struggled to break the man's face and argue with him. But consciousness, along with sound, was quickly dissipated by brute force and eliminated in endless entanglement. Up and down all night. When Song Shi woke up, he completely forgot about what happened last night. She groped her way out after washing up, but was heavily pressed on her shoulder and pressed against the door frame without warning. Song Shi felt a slight pain and twisted his eyebrows. Just as he was about to speak, a heavily panting male voice questioned her, like the mournful cry of a trapped beast before death. "Song Shiwei, how can you marry him? How dare you marry him?" The unfamiliar masculine aura was somewhat aggressive, and there was a strong alcohol smell, which made Song Shiwei feel at a loss. She trembled and instinctively hid back, but behind her was the door frame, so there was no way to retreat. The expression gradually became frightened. The man immediately panicked and said in a hoarse voice, almost pleading, "Shiwei, don't be afraid of me. I'm Lu." Before Lu could finish speaking, Song Shiwei felt his shoulders light and was pulled into his arms. Wide and hot. The person coming is her newlywed husband, Lu Heng. At the same time, the sound of heavy objects rolling and falling, as well as the man's painful moans, echoed in his ears. The heart that Song Shiwei had just let go was lifted up again. She grabbed her husband's hand and worried, "Lu Heng, did you push someone downstairs?" The man who was called Lu Heng lowered his eyes and looked at his wife in his arms. He let out a faint sigh, but the results of kicking and pushing were the same, so there was no need to explain. "Is that okay? Should we call an ambulance?" "Don't worry, I won't die," the man said, grabbing Song Shiwei's waist and helping her downstairs. "Let's go home and ignore those unlucky things." Out of trust, Song Shiwei instinctively followed her husband and stepped on the last step. The man hunched on the ground sobbed softly. "I can't hear it clearly, but the general idea is, Lu Yuan, you are despicable and shameless, taking advantage of someone's danger." During the Song Dynasty, there was a slight pause in his footsteps, but he quickly left. Lu Yuan, the current head of the Lu family, is also a close relative of Lu Heng. When Song Shiwei married Lu Heng, she had to call him Uncle Lu Yuan, but she knew very little about him. During the Song Dynasty, Wei and Lu Heng were childhood sweethearts, while Lu Yuan was far away overseas and the two had never met in person. When Lu Yuan was fighting for power and profit in the Lu family and killing all sides, Song Shiwei became blind again and stopped all social activities. She only heard that Lu Yuan was known as the Great Demon King of the Capital Circle, and was a ruthless character who resorted to any means to achieve his goals. But if he is not ruthless, how can he firmly hold the Lu family in his own hands? This is the basic skill of the upper authorities, and Song Shiwei did not find it strange. Strangely enough, the man was pushed downstairs by Lu Heng, and instead of scolding Lu Heng, he accused Lu Yuan. It felt like the person pushing him downstairs was Lu Yuan, and so on, is her husband also Lu Yuan? How could it be? With Lu Yuan's identity and status, there is no need for any woman. Only when he goes crazy will he compete with his nephew for a woman. The key is that he is still fighting for a blind person. Song Shiwei felt ridiculous and didn't think too much. The man drove a supercar today, and when the huge roar sounded, Song Shiwei's subconscious trembled for a moment, and there were also intermittent sounds in his head. My mother.in.law said that Lu Heng had stress disorder after the car accident and couldn't drive. But her husband not only knows how to drive, but also drives fast and steadily, unlike having a similar stress disorder. So someone is lying. Who is lying? Song sure didn't take a breath and remembered the sobering soup that had not been delivered to the room last night. When intimate, he was strictly prohibited by his husband from calling him Lu Heng. The man who rolled downstairs made a sound similar to Heng in his mouth, as well as his complaint against Lu Yuan. For a long time, there have been many contradictory lifestyle habits between my husband and the impression of Lu Heng. This all indicates one thing. The husband who is constantly entangled with her may really have someone else. Who could it be? Uncle, is Lu Yuan. During the Song Dynasty, there was a slight moment of shivering and even breathing accompanied by pain. In the next moment, overwhelming dizziness struck, and Song Shiwei couldn't hold on and completely collapsed in his chair. Before completely fainting, my mind was filled with the snowy night when I reunited with Lu Heng. I just can't fit the face of Lu Heng from my memory into those scenes anymore. Chapter 2. Divorce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half a year ago, in the hospital's inpatient department. Song Shiwei put on his clothes, put on his backpack, and pushed his suitcase out of the hospital room. Grandpa Lu heard that she was discharged today and sent Lu Heng to pick her up, but she stayed at the hospital until late at night and didn't see anyone. She thought, this was Lu Heng's silent refusal. The rumbling sound of the suitcase's wheels echoed in the hospital hallway, piercing and eerie. Soon, the sound of men's leather shoes tapping could be heard at the end of the corridor. At the moment when two voices intertwined, the tall man leaned slightly sideways and stared at the woman slowly passing by. He asked in a deep voice, Song Shiwei. During the Song Dynasty, there was a slight station reservation. Then slowly turned back while holding onto the luggage lever. The cold white light illuminated the woman with a sickly whiteness, with willow eyebrows, apricot eyes, small noses, and cherry lips, like priceless landscape paintings at an auction. Precious yet fragile. Lu Yuan suddenly felt a needle-like pain in his palm, which spread all the way to his heart. He put away the phone and stared calmly at the person in front of him, suddenly overlapping with a small group in his memory. At that time, the little ball threw a snowball at his heart, loose and weightless, but it crossed the years and steadily hit his heart. Sour and heavy in the next moment, Song Shiwei tentatively spoke, his voice sweet and soft. Lu Heng. This sound was slightly disappointing, and the man's face darkened as his surging emotions slowly settled. He fixed his gaze on Song Shiwei's amber-colored pupils, only to suddenly remember that he had not focused. Lu Heng's fiancée A.E. is blind, so it's not surprising to admit the wrong person. There was a blind person in the hospital who seemed to be discharged alone, but Lu Yuan slowly furrowed his brow. In a fleeting moment, Song Shiwei called out to Lu Heng again. A dim and unclear light flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes, and then he nodded and recognized the identity of Lu Heng. It's strange, but he didn't pay attention to it. Taking the suitcase with one hand and grabbing Song Shiwei's wrist with the other, Lu Yuan led the person outside. Before stuffing people into the car, Song Shiwei made the final confirmation. Just as she passed by, she listened to the faint Mr. Lu coming from the receiver of the other person's phone and guessed that it might be Lu Heng. But she cannot see, and her heart of defense is indispensable. With his palm resting on the car door, Song Shiwei asked, Lu Heng, can I make a phone call to my family? Suddenly, a heavy snowfall fell from the sky, and as they spoke, a thin layer of snow fell on both of their heads. Lu Yuan stared at the top of Song Shiwei's hair for a moment, then pulled out an umbrella from the side pocket of her backpack and opened it to support them above their heads. The mature and unfamiliar male aura enveloped her, and Song Shi instinctively held her breath. After a long time, with a seemingly empty nod above his head, Song Shiwei hurriedly called his mobile assistant and made a video call to Grandpa Lu. Waiting for the gap to be connected. During the Song Dynasty, he pretended to be calm and felt even more uneasy when he thought of the ugly and cute little yellow duck on the umbrella. Fortunately, the phone was quickly answered. Lu Yuan slightly leaned sideways in front of the camera, before Song Shiwei, and said calmly, "It's me." Mr. Lu woke up from his sleep, feeling a bit confused. After confirming that the building behind the two was a hospital, he asked, "Why is it so late?" Lu Yuan sneered lightly, showing no mercy, and asked in response, "What do you think?" Mr. Lu choked and asked Lu Heng to pick up Song Shiwei. Song Shiwei was still in the hospital, indicating that it was Lu Heng's problem and had nothing to do with Lu Yuan. A father can't tolerate his son talking to him like this. Just as she was about to retort a few words, Song Shiwei, who was frozen to the point of stiffness, flashed through the camera and softly called out Grandpa Lu. The old man's anger instantly dissipated and he turned to remind Song Shiwei. "Shiwei, that kid is driving fast. Please remind him to pay attention to safety. The room at home has been cleaned up and he can stay directly when he comes back. It's a bit late today, so I'll tell Aunt Huang what's missing tomorrow morning." Song nodded slightly. She clarified the man's identity from the conversation, and Lu Yuan also clarified the reason why Song Shiwei was waiting for Lu Heng. "I was originally going to stay at the Lu mansion." With a raised eyebrow, Lu Yuan silently got into the car. As Mr. Lu said, it was a bit scary when the car flew out and the man started pulling on the seatbelt. During the Song Dynasty, I couldn't open my mouth slightly. Their engagement stems from a car accident, and in the eyes of the world, including possibly Lu Heng himself, she is considered the vested interest. So it's really boring to persuade the other person to pay attention to safety even though they have benefited from a car accident. Song Shiwei understood this truth. So after being engaged for 5 years, she never claimed to be Lu Heng's fiancée or sought any convenience for the Song family. They never even met alone. If it weren't for the reason of not meeting with Lu Heng this time, she wouldn't agree to Grandpa Lu's invitation. Both of them had their own thoughts and didn't speak. Half an hour later, Song Shiwei was placed by the man on the sofa in the living room, which was the city's main flat where Lu Yuan often lived. "Wait a moment, I'll go tidy up the room." "Thank you." Taking the elevator, but without any servants to command, Song Shiwei guessed that this was not Lu's residence. She didn't understand Lu Heng's approach, but she didn't have to deal with the elders of Lu's house, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Being lost in thought, the man came over to hold her and asked, "Do you need any help with washing up?" "There are currently no servants at home." Song Shiwei replied, "No need, I have washed up in the ward. Because I waited too long, I asked the caregiver to help me wash up, but there's no need to say that." Lu Yuan let out a sigh and directly led the person to sit by the bed. Lone men and widows, living together in one room. Although it was supposed to be a moment of ambiguity and excitement, one side was blind and had nothing to see, while the other side had an iron heart, lacking any charm. There was a refreshing scent of laundry detergent on the bed, and the man probably helped her change into a new bedding. Song Shi expressed his gratitude slightly, "Thank you, Lu Heng. Good night." It's polite and also a way of seeing off guests. Lu Yuan rubbed his fingers, leaving a delicate touch on them, which was accidentally touching Song Shiwei's skin just now. Very unfamiliar, but not annoying. Lu Yuan stared at his fingers for a moment, feeling inexplicably better, and smiled and said good night. The next morning, Song Shiwei was awakened by the sound of knocking on the door. She thought it was Lu Heng and didn't let anyone in, but said, "Wait a moment, I need to wash up." Immediately outside the door, she responded, "Miss Song, I was called by Mr. Lu to take care of you. Can I come in now?" All night long, Auntie had found everything, and Song Shi was slightly surprised by Lu Heng's swift and decisive actions. After packing up and going out, Lu Yuan was eating at the restaurant when he saw Song Shiwei and asked in a low voice, "Did you sleep well last night?" "Very good, thank you. Just don't have any nightmares, let's eat." "Okay." Song Shiwei reached out and groped for bowls and chopsticks, while the aunt eagerly announced the dishes. Song Shiwei ordered a sandwich. She eats very slowly because it is difficult to maintain a good posture by swallowing too much, and she is also afraid that the debris will not be easy to clean, causing trouble for her aunt. Halfway through a sandwich, Song Shiwei heard the sound of bowls and chopsticks colliding. She guessed that the man had eaten well and asked, "Do you have time later? I want to talk to you about something." "What's going on?" "The matter of divorce." Chapter 3. Male Third Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 4. Husband's Rights. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Song Shiwei thought that withdrawing from marriage was a tacit understanding between the two, but he didn't expect Heng to refuse. Or is it that he is just taking a step back and trying to force her to make concessions? Song Shiwei's heart instantly cooled. Lu Yuan's heart also circled a ripple, and he was not even sure if the statement of not withdrawing had more subjective consciousness or more objective conditions. "Why?" Song Shiwei asked. Lu Yuan had to explain, but the reason was fabricated. "The current helmsman of the Lu family is my third uncle, who is only 6 years older than me. What is this concept? As long as he has no major negligence, he can be re-elected until his own children take over the company. What should I do?" Lu Yuan seemed to possess the essence of acting, and his tone of speech changed. Fearing that his exaggerated acting skills would not deceive Song Shiwei, he stared at her without missing any subtle expressions on her face. Song Shiwei was completely unaware and just asked, "So, you want the Lu family?" Lu Yuan. "No one doesn't want it." During the Song Dynasty, she frowned and pondered. She had heard from her grandfather that Lu Heng's third uncle was Lu Yuan. That's a business genius, a big demon king who can even stomp his feet and make the upper-class circle peel off its skin. Lu Heng doesn't even have enough eyes in front of him, how can he argue with him? But this cannot be said, to avoid hurting a man's self-esteem and making it even more difficult to talk about a divorce. But what does this have to do with our engagement? The Song family is not as old as before, and I can't see them yet. I can't be your help. We need to find a more powerful marriage partner to help you get the Lu family, Song Shi said with a hint of confusion. "No, only the shares in the old man's hands can allow me to obtain the Lu family, and he likes you. I don't intend to disobey him. A group leader with a market value of billions, an insignificant marriage." Lu Heng's choice of the former was an expected answer. Being left on the balance and abandoned, Song Shiwei still felt suffocated and his face changed. Lu Yuan noticed something was wrong and quickly changed the topic. He said, "So, fiancé. As if grinding the words with the tip of his tongue, they were extremely affectionate, but there was not a single word that Song Shiwei wanted to hear. Instead of thinking about how to withdraw from marriage, it's better to think about how to cultivate feelings with me, so as not to become a resentful spouse after marriage." During the Song Dynasty, Wei was even more suffocated. Cultivating feelings with someone who uses himself as a tool is quite cruel for Lu Heng. Song Shiwei was in a bad mood and went back to his room after only a few bites of dinner. That night, Song Shiwei thought of many ways to deal with Lu Heng, but quickly self-denied it. Lu Heng cannot give up trying to please Grandpa Lu for her sake, but she also has her own bottom line. The matter of divorce must be brought up by Lu Heng. She would rather be attacked by some abandoned women than bear the pressure of public opinion. Because people only believe in their own logic. She, a blind girl whose parents have both died, proposed to withdraw from her marriage with the proud son of heaven who was backed by a wealthy family, not only for no good or bad. Those with broad-mindedness may even fabricate rumors of being a slut to attack her, thereby confirming the rationality of the entire incident. She is not afraid of losing her reputation, but she is also afraid of affecting her parents' reputation and the already precarious Song family. On the dining table the next day, Song Shiwei did not mention the matter of divorce again. After all, cultivating relationships doesn't necessarily mean getting married. Even if you get married, you can still divorce. She took the opportunity to expose some annoying flaws, and maybe Heng couldn't hold on to marrying her at all. During the Song Dynasty, Wei Ji was determined to win and prepared for a big fight, but was caught off guard by Yuan. After finishing his meal, Yuan ordered, "Fiancé, take me to work. I became addicted to playing all at once." Song Shiwei was very helpless. She is blind, is it necessary to go through these steps? Yuan completely ignored Song Shiwei's unwillingness and bent down to grab Song Shiwei's wrist, pulling her towards the entrance without refusing. There are 15 steps in total. During the Song Dynasty, there was a gradual silence. Walking to the door and standing still, Yuan said again, "My tie is crooked. Can you help me tie it again, fiancé? Song Shiwei refused to cooperate. Yuan grabbed her wrist and touched himself. Song Shiwei was greatly shocked and quickly withdrew his hand. Without paying attention, he patted the man's jaw. With a loud bang, the air became quiet. This is no different from slapping. Yuan let go of his hand and let out an angry sound in his nose, clearly unhappy. During the Song Dynasty, there was a slight pause, and the unfocused pupils suddenly lit up a bit. Isn't this hitting the nail on the head? Her plan is to displease Heng, make him withdraw as soon as possible, and find Heng's minefield. Isn't she twice the result with half the effort? Song Shi was full of confidence and couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth, saying, "Heng, what I can't see, I can't tie a tie." Without waiting for the other person to react, he continued, "I can't do anything else except wear a tie. I'm a rice worm waiting to die, so should you consider getting married?" The little girl immediately proposed to withdraw from marriage, even willing to self-deprecate. But if Yuan had already planned, how could he have fulfilled her wish? He said lightly, "I don't like you calling me by my name. Change your name and I'll check after work." "That's great." Song Shiwei didn't take the man's words to heart at all and quickly called for his mobile assistant to make a memo for him after Yuan left. Divorce battle. The first point is that Heng does not like to refuse. Secondly, Heng does not like being beaten. Thirdly, Heng does not like to call him by name directly. As if he had obtained the Shangfang sword, Song Shiwei was very happy all day. Yuan returns home from work. Song Shiwei still sat back on the sofa, even in the same posture as yesterday. Yuan walked forward and took off Song Shiwei's earphones again, hanging them on his ear. This time it's in English, and listening to the content, it's like talking about Harry Potter. This was a way of entertainment during the Song Dynasty, as I couldn't see it and could only listen to something to pass the time. At the beginning, it was poetry and opera. When I got tired of listening, I started listening to various novels. There are famous domestic and foreign works, fast food novels, and anecdotes, covering a wide range of topics. After brewing for a while, Song Shi stood up slightly, laughing peacefully and harmless, like a little wife waiting for her husband to come home. But helplessly opened his mouth. Heng, you're off work now." Waiting for the man to answer. The little mouth opened and closed, and as if pouring dumplings, he had already said a lot. Heng, have you eaten yet?" Heng, today Auntie made fish. Do you like to eat fish?" Heng, I don't like to eat fish because it has thorns, but I like to drink fish soup. Yuan picked up a strawberry from the fruit tray on the coffee table, blocked Song Shiwei's mouth, and said, "You deliberately made it too obvious, Song Shiwei." During the Song Dynasty, Wei remained noncommittal. She may even raised her eyebrows, with a cute expression of helplessness. He called her by her name, not his fiancée Ae, indicating that she had successfully taken the first step. Lu Yuan couldn't bear to see her proud, so he handed Song Shiwei another strawberry with a gentle and threatening gesture. In an instant, Lu Yuan had a wicked taste and said, "If you want to force me to divorce by killing me, I'm sorry. I won't agree with you, maybe I will exercise my husband's rights in advance." "What rights?" Song Shi was slightly surprised and slowly touched his lips. Chapter 5. Exploration. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Song Shiwei felt threatened, but she dared not resist. If Lu Heng is not joking, and if his standards are executed according to the standards of a true husband and wife, then isn't she still unmarried and wanting to lose her virginity? No, it's not necessary to have physical entanglements in a marriage that is destined to have no ending. During the Song Dynasty, Wei looked at death as if returning home, and Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps due to being too close, Song Shiwei felt a hot breath blowing towards her neck, which was very itchy. Lu Yuan smiled enough and asked, "Are you eating a decapitated meal?" Song Shi trembled slightly, as if on pins and needles. It was not until this moment that she realized she had been led to the dining table, and there was no auntie with a cloth dish by her side. Lu Yuan saw no response and said, "If not, don't shrink your neck, as if it could break at any time." Whispering, so scary. During the Song Dynasty, the chopsticks were not firmly held and fell to the ground with 2 clicks. Lu Yuan is very satisfied. He didn't believe that Song Shiwei, after this experience, dared to use a deadly way to find him unhappy. In a good mood, he used a public chopstick to pick up some vegetables for Song Shi, and then stuffed the public chopstick into her to make her eat well. The voice was very faint, but it sounded like a threat with a slight ear during the Song Dynasty. Song Shiwei felt remorse for the first time and shouldn't have hastily decided to live with Lu Heng eating with a heavy head. "I choked due to eating too quickly." Lu Yuan poured her water and helped her smooth her back. She stopped coughing and started hiccuping again. Her face, as beautiful as a distant mountain, turned red from embarrassment. She pursed her lips, desperately suppressing the tremors of her body, but the more she suppressed it, the more her chest and shoulders trembled. In a moment, tears filled the lifeless eyes. Lu Yuan was shocked. At the same time, I felt that the strings in my heart were suddenly stirred up, causing a ripple. In an instant, Lu Yuan called his aunt to take care of Song Shiwei's meal and went to the study himself. During the Song Dynasty, Wei fled back to his room. This night. During the Song Dynasty, Wei had a lot of wild thoughts and eventually got up half an hour late, successfully avoiding Lu Yuan. This provides Song Shiwei with new ideas. Unable to provoke, she could always avoid it, but avoiding it all the time was not conducive to withdrawing, and she was in a dilemma for a moment. In a difficult situation, guests have arrived at home. "It's Mr. Lu." The old man saw that she had not gone to the Lu mansion and came to take a look, but it was difficult for him to personally go to this icy and snowy place. Song Shiwei was very moved. "Grandpa Lu, why are you here?" Song Shiwei stood up to greet him with a sweet voice. "Is it cold on the road?" "It's not cold." Grandpa Lu turned to Song Shiwei and said, "But it's you, girl. Are you used to living here? If you're not used to it, just go back to your old house with Grandpa. It's spacious and lively over there." The old house is lively, but dealing with it is also troublesome. If you really have to choose between two, she will choose Lu Heng alone. At least 2 of them are of the same generation, and if she gets upset, she can jump over the wall without being bound by the morality of respecting the elderly and caring for the young. Having made a choice, Song Shi smiled and politely declined, "It's quite good here." The old man pretended to be angry and said, "What's good about it? It's so thin that a gust of wind can blow it away. At first glance, it's just that I haven't taken good care of it." Song Shiwei explained, I have a good physique and only eat without gaining weight. You don't even know how many people outside envy my physique. The old man doesn't understand these things. He took a sip of his tea and said in a desolate tone, I just feel like being thin doesn't make me eat well. During the Song Dynasty, he smiled and comforted the elderly. The atmosphere is actually peaceful. Speaking of Lu Heng, Grandpa Lu deliberately lowered his voice, like an old mischievous child. How are you and Xiao Heng? Has he bullied you? Bullied every day. If you want to withdraw from marriage, immediately withdraw. Thinking of the kind face of the old man, Song Shiwei couldn't even say how to divorce him. Moreover, it is not easy to conceal one's unilateral desire to withdraw from the marriage, even though one's attitude is clear. Song Shi tugged his lips slightly and finally said against his heart, it's pretty good, he's also pretty good to me. The old man didn't doubt his presence and continued to ask, do you live in 1 room or 2 rooms? The old man, who had experienced countless battles, knew that there was no point in Song Shiwei's expression. He shook his head and sighed, this kid Lu Heng is not good. Lu Heng, who was still in Africa, sneezed fiercely. The old man didn't embarrass Song Shiwei either. He quickly changed the topic and said, Shiwei, what do you think of Lu Yuan? He's my immature 3rd son. Those who remain on the Forbes rich list are not successful, so who is successful? During the Song Dynasty, there was a small head and a big question. But thinking that Chinese people like to be humble, the old man was afraid that he was also humble, so he chose a sentence that wouldn't go wrong and replied, I haven't seen my uncle before, but I heard he's very skilled and manages the Lu family very well. The old man let out a soft snort, clearly not self-deprecating. Apart from earning too stinky money, it's simply useless. During the Song Dynasty, I couldn't quite grasp the old man's attitude and didn't say anything more. I only vaguely felt that the old man didn't seem to like his 3rd son very much. I don't like it, but I handed over the Lu family to him. Pure is just a tool for making money. It's quite pitiful. But it's not important. A strong person doesn't need pity. If she has that leisure, why not think about how to quickly withdraw from Lu Heng? The two chatted for a while again, and Song Shiwei had a strong desire not to go to the old house. The old man did not force her, but only allowed her to visit there when she had time. During the Song Dynasty, there was a slight response. Anyway, there's no need to fulfill it. You can give the promise as you please. After the old man left, Song Shiwei continued to listen to the novel that he hadn't finished listening to yesterday. And in the company, Lu Yuan. Staring at the figure of the old man leaving in the surveillance footage, silently writing 3 words on the paper. Song Yuexin. That is the name of Wei's mother during the Song Dynasty, and also the woman who once led the Song family to the pinnacle. It's a pity, a red face is a waste of life. Go home after work. At first glance, Lu Yuan saw Song Shiwei with a gloomy expression on his face. He couldn't help but tease, do I owe you money? Song Shiwei let out a faint sigh, but didn't react, feeling strange at the same time. Why does Lu Heng always get home on time? Does he have no socializing or socializing? Lu Yuan asked again, why pull a face? Song Shi understood slightly. The man thinks her face smells bad, and she murmurs softly, if you think it smells bad, you'll get married. If you don't, you'll stink for a lifetime. Lu Yuan didn't hear clearly and asked her what she was muttering. During the Song Dynasty, Wei shook his head again, as if it were a quail beaten by frost. After dinner, Lu Yuan went to the study to retrieve surveillance footage and understood the reason for Song Shiwei's resentment. It turned out that the annual membership fee for a certain app had expired. After the expiration, I can't listen to VIP content, so I feel frustrated there. Lu Yuan sighed, the little girl's troubles were really strange and peculiar. The next morning, Song Shiwei was awakened by the sound of knocking on the door. She thought she was sleeping late again and gave a vague response, letting her aunt in. Lu Yuan pushed open the door and bumped into a spring-filled scene. A strange feeling rushed out of his heart, rushing towards the impossible place. Lu Yuan closed his eyes and exchanged it for aunt to help Song Shiwei wash up. Song Shiwei was completely unaware. After tidying up, Lu Yuan went to the living room and grabbed her wrist. Let's go, starting from today, you and I will go out for morning exercises. Done. Song Shiwei thought to herself, not only is she blind, but she is also deaf. How did she hear Lu Heng asking her to go for morning exercises? Chapter 6. Fiancé AE of 50 cents per kilogram. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. At 6:30 in the morning, the frost and dew were so heavy that it felt like drizzling. Song Shiwei was shivering from the cold, instantly putting aside the threat of her husband's rights. She shook her wrist vigorously, but did not shake it away. She then grabbed the man's arm with her back hand, intending to play tricks and not leave. She originally wanted to scold the other person for having a mental illness, but thinking of being impolite, she pursed her mouth and swallowed it. In just 3 seconds, she regretted this decision. Lu Yuan looked at Song Shiwei's small hands, which had turned white with force, and then at the tiles laid under their feet. Suddenly, he hooked his lips and pulled Song Shiwei briskly. Unconsciously, Song Shiwei was dragged by Lu Yuan as he slid on the ground, and halfway through, he screamed, attracting many glances. Someone who is familiar with Lu Yuan is teasing him from afar not to bully his girlfriend. Lu Yuan smiled and corrected, "It's not my girlfriend, it's my fiancé AE. During the Song Dynasty, I wore a humble robe. Is the title important? The important thing is not to bully her." Fortunately, the frozen road section was not long, and Lu Yuan was afraid that Song Shiwei would really be in a hurry, so he quickly stopped. "Keep your feet grounded." Song Shiwei immediately shook off Lu Yuan and rebuked him, "Lu Heng, are you sick? I'm a blind man and can't even understand the way. Why practice in the morning? Dragging her to skate with a blind person, how scary." Upon hearing Lu Heng's name, Lu Yuan felt somewhat displeased. Fortunately, when it comes to cursing, there is no need to argue. Instead, he solemnly said, "You won't be like this forever, so don't treat yourself as blind." Song Shiwei's anger was suddenly forcefully extinguished. She blinked blankly for a long time before regaining her voice. "You're so strange, I can't see it. Why can't you consider yourself blind?" Lu Yuan glanced at him and said in a low voice, "You know what I mean." She really knows, but she's a bit reluctant to admit it. The term blind here does not refer to physical invisibility, but rather to her behavior of allowing herself to behave recklessly under the pretext of being blind. But if her eyes can never regain sight, what problem does being a useless person have? After the air was quiet for a few seconds, Lu Yuan suddenly changed the topic and said, "Actually, when you withdrew, you just felt that getting married was troublesome and wanted to be lazy, right? Everything else was just an excuse." Song Shiwei subconsciously denied, "No, what you said is not right. Don't deceive yourself, it's of no use. Don't be arrogant, I'm not lying to myself." "No deception, then why are you feeling guilty?" The conversation ends here. Song Shi trembled slightly, unsure whether he was frozen or angry. After a long time, he said, "Don't stand and talk without pain. I'm not blind for a short time, and I may only be blind for a lifetime. So how can I digest the negative emotions and annoyance imposed on me by the arrogance of a wealthy family? Breaking out is not about being lazy, it's about me saving myself, it's my choice. I chose to live a more comfortable life for the rest of my life, and that's not wrong." When Song Shiwei said these words, his tone remained calm, but his eyes gradually became moist. She took a breath and suddenly overturned what she had just said, saying very pessimistically, "Okay, even if I lied to myself, I didn't interfere with anyone. I have the right to choose my way of life and death, which has nothing to do with others. Lu Yuan's heart twitched. It doesn't hurt, but it's quite uncomfortable. He is not the kind of young master like Lu Heng who has made steady progress. The battles he experienced with the Lu family were unimaginable during the Song Dynasty. So when she complained about the difficulty of life, he didn't feel it. But when she mentioned death, Lu Yuan couldn't bear it. The frost and dew around seemed to have frozen into ice, but Song Shi was slightly trapped in a gloomy mood and couldn't notice it. In an instant, Lu Yuan said, "Song Shiwei, apologize." This powerful sound instantly pulled Song Shiwei out of his emotions. Tears rolled in my eyes a few times, jumping out of my eyelids and falling down. Lu Yuan inexplicably remembered the scene he saw in the morning. The girl who had not woken up sat cross-legged on the bed, dozing off. Her fluffy and messy hair covered half of her face and a large area of skin on her chest. The lotus-like arms were folded and supported on the legs covered by a cotton quilt, and the satin suspender on the shoulder was drawn to the arms. Upon closer inspection, red marks could still be seen on the arms. Lu Yuan dare not think. How lively and fragrant it would be if a few more pearls fell from the Song Dynasty, and how many men would flock to it. Thinking of this, my newly softened heart hardened again. The most indispensable person in this world is the flower picker. During the Song Dynasty, he didn't force himself, even if he got rid of Lu Heng, he would still fall into the next quagmire. He can't always be with her, no one can empathize with you. Lu Yuandao said, self-rescue relies on one's own abilities, not the pity of others. Moreover, I have said that you will not be like this forever, and you will regain light. Therefore, before that, I apologize for my self-abandonment. Song Shi's slightly angry tears were suppressed. When a good person quarrels, apologize to yourself first. What's your problem? Song Shi rubbed his bright red eyes and nose slightly, wanting to go home. But at this moment, she couldn't even tell the direction clearly, so she had to apologize to herself in humiliation and let the man take her home. Lu Yuan was very satisfied and tugged at Song Shiwei, saying, "Let's go, run around first." "I'm going home, not running." "Don't be afraid, I'll hold you and you won't fall into the lake." "I want to go home." "It's okay to fall in, I can swim." During the Song Dynasty, Wei was truly impressed. Seeing that this morning run couldn't be avoided, Song Shiwei was furious and called out his mobile assistant to help him post a friend circle. "Hello everyone, I have a fiancé with a slight flaw. It costs 50 cents per kilogram. May I ask if anyone accepts it? It's okay if you find it too expensive. You can negotiate, but the bottom line is that you can't let me give you a discount. Giving me a discount is a bit unlucky." Lu Yuanla was happy, but he didn't stop it. Anyway, during the Song Dynasty, the fiancé on Wei Ming's face was Lu Heng, and it couldn't ruin his reputation as Lu Yuan. Seeing Song Shi's slight balance, Lu Yuan grabbed her wrist and jogged around the artificial lake. "How slow is it?" "It's similar to the old lady who just finished her meal and took a walk, and she still stumbles after taking 2 steps. For several consecutive days. During the Song Dynasty, Wei Du was dragged by Lu Yuan to do morning exercises. Fortunately, the speed has finally improved. It's not that his physical strength kept up, but that Song Shi overcame his fear. She no longer feared the ravine in front of her, trusted Lu Yuan wholeheartedly, and then marched forward on the invisible flat road. This feeling has a long-lost and exhilarating feeling. Of course, lying comfortably in bed is still her best choice. After finishing his morning exercise that day, Song Shiwei received 2 gifts. An electronic watch. It can replace mobile phones to make video calls and is also equipped with a positioning device recently developed by Lu Shi. The other one is a guide dog. Song Shiwei felt that there was a pitfall and decisively refused. Lu Heng, no merit, no reward. I don't want to accept these two gifts. Then don't treat them as gifts. You can treat them as paid items. I don't need props. Of course you need it, Song Shiwei, said Lu Yuan. Let's go out and socialize. Chapter 7. Marrying Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Song Shiwei refused to communicate and stumbled back to the room. The sound of glass shattering came from behind, like a clock in the twilight, striking my heart one by one. Look. Within a week, this was the fourth cup she had broken. What qualifications does she have to go out for socializing? Returning to the room, Song Shiwei muffled himself in the blanket. The smell of laundry detergent on the sheets has become very faint, replaced by the smoky scent she uses to aid sleep. It's a familiar smell, but now it feels pungent and stinging in the eyes. In fact, when Song Shiwei first went blind, he wasn't as homely as he is now. She likes sunlight and often goes to the yard to bask in it. Occasionally, I also invite friends to my home as guests, or go out together to listen to concerts and have afternoon tea. She approaches every day with a positive and optimistic attitude. But a disabled person is a burden, and with the decline of the Song family, her social value is decreasing, so no one comes to fulfill the appointment. When encountering someone with poor character, they will still say something unpleasant behind their back. Saying she is hypocritical, saying that her toad wants to eat swan meat, saying that she is disabled and occupies the pit without defecation. Those words really hurt people. Song Shiwei now feels sad when he thinks of it, let alone a young girl who has just lost her sight at the age of 16 or 17. She had no way to argue and could only lock herself up, so she wouldn't hear any hurtful words. A room that is completely dark, unable to release emotions, cannot breed a sense of security, can only breed fear. She began to suffer from insomnia throughout the night, and her body quickly deteriorated. When her family discovered it, they sent her to see a psychologist. The psychologist provided many treatment plans, but she felt resistant and had little effect. Later, the doctor who was eager to gain more benefits from the Song family violated the regulations and used psychological suggestions to Song Shiwei without authorization. Hint that if she continues to make trouble, the elders in the family will be implicated by her. Coincidentally, during that time when his grandmother fell ill and was hospitalized, Song Shiwei took full responsibility on himself and forced himself to be cheerful. Whether the cheerful expression she was forced out was truly cured or not, when the Song family discovered the problem again and sent her to the hospital, the doctor was at a loss. Fortunately, time will not disappoint those who work hard. Song Shiwei now rarely falls ill, just like normal people. Just socializing, she still resists from the bottom of her heart. After a moment of delay, Song Shiwei went out with a strong aura, intending to have a quarrel with Heng about his divorce. This day can't last any longer. She doesn't want morning exercises, she doesn't want socializing, she wants to sit and eat until she dies, and continue to be a rice bug. This weekend, Lu Yuan didn't go out. Seeing Song Shiwei rushing out of the room, Lu Yuan put down his tablet and looked at her with ease. Because of anger. Song Shiwei's cheeks turned crimson, appearing more vivid, but due to anger, he miscalculated the distance and bumped his legs into the armrest of the sofa, plunging into it. The air remained quiet for 2 seconds. Deep and joyful laughter accompanied by the vibration of the chest echoed through the living room. During the Song Dynasty, his face turned slightly red and he leaned on the sofa, wanting to get up. However, the laughter suddenly came to an end, replaced by a man's muffled groans. This groan was unfamiliar and dangerous, and Song Shi instinctively let go. However, without support, his body fell back again. Strong male hormones rushed towards him, and Song Shiwei finally discovered the problem. She didn't fall into the sofa, but completely lay on the man's lap. What kind of dog-blooded position is this? In an instant, Song Shiwei even thought about where to bury himself, but he didn't remember to argue with a man. Lu Yuanmei's heart beat twice, and he grabbed Song Shiwei's waist with both hands, lifted the person up, and then crossed himself to sit on the other side of the sofa. The whole process was like carrying a little chick, but neither of them could laugh. During the Song Dynasty, my mind was filled with scorching palms on my waist, a strong masculine aura in my nostrils, and an inexplicable touch on my hands. Lu Yuan didn't have any free time either. His hands had a delicate and soft touch, his nose was filled with the fragrance of a young girl, and his eyes were fixed on the plump waist he was holding. Guessing how much he could fold at this idea is a bit excessive. Lu Yuan immediately stopped, but couldn't help but loosen his collar and even took 2 sips of cold tea on the coffee table. Tea is refreshing, but it does not quench thirst. Lu Yuan deeply realized that he had the most primitive desire for men and women in the Song Dynasty. He wants to possess her. This omen is fierce and eerie, but it is clearly not a good omen. Lu Yuan reflected but did not restrain himself, observing Song Shiwei carefully. The girl in front of me is beautiful and fragile, decadent and cheerful. The extreme contrast catalyzes an indescribable sense of fragmentation. Lu Yuan thought, it's hard not to be protected by her. It's just that he's quite special, arousing male desires. But what does that matter? Lu Yuan hooked his lips and smiled silently. He usually loves his little nephew so much, it shouldn't be too much to snatch his fiancée. After a moment, Lu Yuan said calmly, Song Shiwei, I'll give you 2 choices. Song Shiwei turned his head slightly, his expression somewhat confused, as if he had not completely withdrawn from the intimacy just now. Lu Yuan looked directly at Song Shiwei and continued, marry me, or grow up so that you don't need anyone to protect you. The sudden proposal caused Song Shiwei's mind to crash. She forgot that she was blind, suddenly stood up, and quickly threw herself uncontrollably towards the coffee table. Just before falling, Lu Yuan grabbed her waist from behind and grabbed the person directly into her arms. The tightly fitting embrace instantly stiffened their bodies. Lu Yuan thought to himself that men are indeed not good things, and they are accustomed to taking advantage of each other. Just now, he was able to calmly offer 2 options to test Song Shiwei. He doesn't want to wait anymore, he wants to have her immediately. Song Shiwei was completely foolish. After reaching adulthood, she had never been so close to the opposite sex before, and still had her fiancé's opposite sex, which inevitably made her restless. The air was filled with a strange smell, and Song Shi instinctively held his breath. Lu Yuan put the person back on the sofa and chased after him. Is this question difficult to answer? During the Song Dynasty, the eyelashes flickered slightly, and the fingers curled up to almost spasm. What is the difficulty of this problem? The difficulty is that Song Shiwei dare not face his wavering heart directly. She thought she still loved Lu Heng, otherwise she wouldn't have been easily moved by his words. If Lu Heng also loves her, then she is willing to deal with Mrs. Lu and face all the evil in this world. But Lu Heng doesn't love her. This is the answer she obtained in 5 years. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Yuan ran out of patience and made a strong choice for her. Then choose the latter. Today's task is to take Coco out for socializing. The expected answer, but Song Shiwei still couldn't help feeling frustrated. The next moment, a big palm was pressed down on her head, and she rubbed the top of her hair with both pity and comfort, saying, marrying me does not conflict with growth, so don't lose. My fiancée, you can grow up to not need any shelter before marrying me. Chapter 8. Take a Kiss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 9. I make you my wife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Yuan glanced over without much emotion, and the man immediately fell silent. He is an alumnus of Lu Yuan and has been with him since he was in school, so he can be considered familiar with Lu Yuan. With just one glance, Zhou Ziming knew he had done something wrong, so he quickly turned his head and asked on WeChat. Lu Yuan replied generously. Handle it yourself, don't let anyone guess that I am Lu Yuan. It's strange that Lu Yuan is considered a semi-public figure, and it's difficult and completely unnecessary to hide his identity. But Zhou Ziming habitually obeyed unconditionally, and his execution was astonishing. He approached a friend nearby and spoke loudly, "Hey Lu Yuan, I called you, why didn't I respond?" That guy let out a strange exclamation. Zhou Ziming was full of disbelief and said, "It's not just about achieving success that we don't recognize our brothers anymore. I'm Xiao Zhou." The man pushed away the hand that Zhou Ziming had been pulling at him and said impatiently, "You've mistaken the person. I'm not Lu Yuan, nor do I know you." "Is that so?" Zhou Ziming suddenly reached out and held the man's face for a while before regretfully saying, "I thought I had found a long-term meal ticket. I realized I had mistaken the wrong person. Oh my, you're just like Lu Yuan-chan. Why do you look so similar to him?" The man patted off Zhou Ziming's hand and glared angrily. Zhou Ziming was completely unaffected, and the old god continued in his presence, "Forget it, you can't be entirely blamed for this. It's too easy for people to bump into each other's faces. So is this saying he's ugly? If it weren't for the ban on fighting in high-end restaurants, men would beat Zhou Ziming up high and low." Lu Yuan also unintentionally hooked his lips, but didn't say anything and began to deal with the matter at hand. "Apologize," Lu Yuan lazily leaned back in his chair and said to Li Man. Riemann was shocked. Confirming that Lu Yuan was not joking, he couldn't believe it and said, "I was bullied like this by you, do you want me to apologize?" Lu Yuan lifted his eyelids and asked, "Otherwise?" "Otherwise?" Riemann's anger immediately rushed to his forehead, burning his rationality clean. She grabbed the knife inserted on one side of her head with her back hand, pulled it out and pointed it at Lu Yuan, saying with hatred, "When I kill you, I'll go to your grave and apologize." Lu Yuan had never been provoked like this in a long time, and feeling fresh, he played with Li Man for a while. He was just moving too fast, and no one could see how he moved. He saw the knife spinning in the air once and a half, and when it fell, it had already returned to Lu Yuan's hand. He pondered and scanned Riemann with interest, finally locking his gaze on the slender neck of the other party. Like an executioner, finally found the place to strike. Li Man was captured by the momentum of Lu Yuan and remained motionless for a long time. After regaining his senses, he immediately shouted and ran away, ignoring the loss of a shoe on the road. "I am so cowardly that I have no eyes." After Li Man left, the staff who had not appeared for a long time finally appeared, guiding Lu Yuan and Song Shiwei to switch positions and quickly serve meals. Song Shi was eating his food quietly, as if he had not noticed any abnormalities, but his heart was already in turmoil. Lu Yuan made a mistake and observed her well. She grabbed a bun today, walking and taking the bus, which made her hair a bit loose, but her hair was soft. Even if it came loose, it would still hang down obediently, just like the person she is now, very well behaved. He knew that Song Shiwei should have noticed something. She just doesn't ask, and he won't take the initiative to say it. After finishing dinner, go home. Song Shiwei said he was tired and instructed his aunt to help feed Coco, then went back to the house. Lying on the bed, Song Shi's slightly tense nerves finally relaxed. She went through the morning's events in her mind, as she couldn't see any specific images and could only roughly piece together the scene at that time. On the road, a luxury car following behind a blind woman. The music hall is filled with young men and women sitting shoulder to shoulder. In the restaurant, sliced steak and spilled juice, they seem like real lovers, having an ordinary and unexpected date, so how could it be Lu Yuan? He is a group president, how could he accompany her to play this kind of cultivation game as a blind woman? Moreover, on the day she was discharged from the hospital, she had a video conversation with Mr. Lu, and he even visited her afterwards. How could the old man not mention anything if he had always been in contact with Lu Yuan instead of Lu Heng? The news of my niece and daughter. In-law living together with my uncle will ruin the reputation of both the Song and Lu families. The old man will never allow such a thing to happen. Thinking of this, Song Shiwei felt relieved. It's just that Li Man is so strange. Once, in order to compete with her and become jealous, I was forced to go abroad and couldn't possibly recognize Lu Heng. But in the restaurant, Riemann's behavior is not like facing his beloved, but more like dealing with an enemy. It can't be that he hates Lu Heng because of love, can it? During the Song Dynasty, his mind was in chaos and he had been busy for half a day. He was really tired and turned over to sleep. I just didn't sleep well and woke up with a slight headache, probably due to the wind blowing. Song Shi hesitated for a while, intending to get up and take some medicine, but he got up too hard and accidentally fell back. This incident lasted until her aunt asked her to have dinner at night. In the afternoon, Yuan was handling work in the study when he heard his aunt's call for help and realized that Song Shi was slightly ill. He quickly drove the person to the hospital. Burn it to 39 degrees, and even touch it to fry eggs. Yuan reflected a bit and realized that Song Shi's illness may be related to her going to a concert. And this concert was proposed by him. He had a responsibility, but quickly forgave himself. The main reason for illness is the low immune system during the Song Dynasty, so morning exercises cannot be stopped. However, outdoor jogging can be avoided, as the weather is getting colder and her small body is clearly unable to hold up, so she can switch to an equal amount of indoor exercise. At 9 o'clock in the evening. During the Song Dynasty, the fever slightly subsided, but the complexion remained pale. She is already white and often stays at home without any sunlight. Now she is sick and doesn't look much, as if she can pout in the next second. Yuan felt a slight movement in his heart and pointed under Song Shi's nose, probing her for breath. He felt the faint airflow hitting his hand before finally feeling at ease. But Song Shiwei suddenly had a nightmare and grabbed the hand that Yuan had not been able to retract. The warm and soft hands gripped tightly, like a drowning person grabbing the last straw. Yuan sighed and rhythmically patted Song Shiwei's shoulder, hoping she could sleep soundly. But things didn't go according to people's wishes. Song Shiwei murmured and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Yuan approached and heard Song Shiwei calling out to his mother. Perhaps feeling that Song Shiwei couldn't hear her, Yuan looked affectionate on his face and reached out to wipe her tears, but his mouth was full of complaints. I'm a man, I can't be your mother. In the next moment, her soft voice continued to murmur with a sickly hoarseness, Dad. Don't leave. Yes, it can also be considered as a response to every request. Yuan's face was covered in frost, pinching Song Shiwei's small face and gritting his teeth. You're good, Song Shiwei. I'll take you as my wife and you'll take me as your father. After speaking, he felt that the accusation was not thorough enough, and added, Am I that old? Chapter 10. Heng returns to China. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Song Shiwei, who was asleep, seemed to feel a chill and unconsciously shivered. But the person didn't wake up, their hands didn't loosen, and they kept holding on to Yuan tightly. Yuan did not really argue with Song Shiwei and allowed her to catch Tianming. The smell of disinfectant was too familiar, and Song Shiwei knew he had gone to the hospital before he was fully awake. Isn't the surgery for the eyes scheduled for next year? How could I be admitted at this time? Song Shiwei was stunned for a while, then opened his mouth to call for a caregiver, only to find himself holding on to something. Touching and rubbing, the joints are distinct, delicate and smooth. It's a man's hand. Song Shiwei was scared to death, quickly threw away his hand, and instinctively closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. At the same time, she regained consciousness and remembered that she was sick and had a fever. Heng sent her to the hospital. The man beside the hospital bed snorted coldly, interrupting Song Shiwei's thoughts and accusing him, When I need it, I'm my biological husband. When I don't need it, I'm just trash that can be thrown away. Song Shiwei, you're really good. What? What does Lu Heng mean by this? Did she call him husband? No way. But if she really screams, can she still successfully withdraw from this marriage? During the Song Dynasty, there was a dull pain in the forehead and even a desire to die in place. Lu Yuan continued without even typing any drafts, saying, starting with chaos and ending with abandonment, "You scumbag." Song Shiwei. Lu Yuan said, "Forget it, who made me your fiancé? You scumbag, I'll accept my fate." Song Shiwei. Song Shiwei felt that if he pretended to sleep again, he might have to listen to Do's injustice. He quickly woke up and said in confusion, "Lu Heng. Am I in the hospital?" The mocking expression on Lu Yuan's face shattered inch by inch. Song Shiwei knows how to make people break defense in 1 second. Lu Yuan took a breath and first answered Song Shiwei's question, "You have a fever. I sent you to the hospital last night." Then he made a request. "I once said I didn't like you calling me Lu Heng, it looks very awkward. Since I have been serving you all night without clothes on, please give me a different name." Song Shi pursed his lips slightly. What does it mean to wait on her for a night? It sounds strange and makes people fantasize, but after bothering him to stay up all night, Song Shiwei thanked the man and said, "Thank you. I didn't call you Lu Heng, what did I call you? Think for yourself." Xiaoheng. Xiaoheng and Xiaoming Xiaohong have the same name as this terrible street, they don't match the wise and powerful me. Let's change it. So Xiaolu. Am I your subordinate? Change it. Ah Heng. Our relationship is not that close, let's switch to someone with a bit of sense of propriety. It's so difficult to serve. Just now, Song Shi felt that she was being criticized for being a scumbag, twisted her face, and found her overly intimate and lacking in sense of propriety. He let out a faint sigh, really troublesome of a man. Lu Yuan is also annoyed. What's the difference between calling him Ah Heng and cursing him? However, in order to maintain the staff, Lu Yuan was not able to point out, so he kept silent for a long time and suddenly asked, "Do you have a nickname called Little Rice Dumpling?" Song Shiwei was surprised and said, "How do you know?" This nickname is not even called by her parents often, and many people around her don't even know it. How did Lu Heng know? Don't worry about that. I'll call you Little Rice Dumpling later. In exchange, you'll call me Ah Yen, the grudge of hatred. Upon hearing this, Song Shiwei almost sat up in shock from illness and performed a split for the man. Didn't Yuan tell her openly that he was Lu Yuan? But when she heard it was a grudge, she suppressed her impulse and asked the man in confusion, "Why do you call it a grudge? Is there any hidden truth?" She doesn't like this name, it's better for Xiaoming and Xiaohong to listen comfortably. Lu Yuan's thoughts drifted far away, as if he was talking about something insignificant. "I was not born in the hopes of my parents. My mother hated my father and fate, so she called me Ah Yuan and called me Ah Yuan until I was 9 years old. At the age of 9, he met the Song family and the young Song Shiwei like rice dumpling. That was the only precious memory he had when he was young." With a smile in his mouth, Lu Yuan put his big hand on Song Shiwei's head and rubbed the ball like a rice dumpling. His heart was soft. And rice dumpling himself, now a little bitter hatred to crack his face. She always thought that Mrs. Lu was just being harsh with outsiders, but she didn't expect that she would be the same with her own son, Lu Heng. There is no mother who is the biological flesh and blood of hatred. However, at the age of 9, she and her parents were still abroad and had never heard of this. But this could not delay the proliferation of the heart of the Virgin Mary during the Song Dynasty. She painfully found the other hand that Lu Yuan had placed on the hospital bed and comforted, "It's all over now. Now I see that Aunt values you a lot. If I don't value it, I won't compete for power and profit, and I can't guarantee her wealth and prosperity for the rest of her life. She just has to maintain her superficial value as a last resort." Okay. Mrs. Lu is really that kind of person. During the Song Dynasty, Guazi's mind turned slightly and he continued to comfort, from now on, I will call you Ian. The wish of the wish is homophonic. Okay. Lu Yuan answered lightly, sounding as if he was moved but with a smile of success on his face. Who has heard of it? Love starts with heartache. Song Shiwei felt sorry for him, so he loved him and they were in love. Since it's a romantic relationship, can we also pull the progress bar appropriately? Lu Yuan stared at the overlapping hands of the two, then silently twisted his wrist and interlocked his fingers with hers. The small palm pressed against his palm, causing Lu Yuan to tremble, while Song Shiwei was completely unaware. After talking for a while, she felt a bit thirsty and licked her lips, asking Lu Yuan, I'm a bit thirsty. Can you help me pour a glass of water? Lu Yuan responded with a nod, but did not move. Song Shiwei didn't hear any movement and his small face slowly wrinkled. Heng. Lu Yuan retorted, who do you want to pour water for you? Are there anyone else in this room? Who am I? Heng. Who? During the Song Dynasty, his forehead lit up and he immediately gave an angry smile. Heng was really childish, but he was really thirsty, so he softened and said, Ah Yuan, could you please help me pour a glass of water? Thank you. You're welcome. Upon hearing what he wanted to hear, Lu Yuan was very talkative and ignored the strange energy in Song Shi's subtle words. He stood up and poured water, and helped Song Shi lean slightly against himself to drink. Water is warm and can be directly consumed. Song Shi took a deep breath and drank half of his glass before realizing that he was in the hospital and his bed could be adjusted for height. Why did Heng lean against him? They don't have such a close relationship, they can't treat him like a human pillow. Song Shi opened his mouth slightly, wanting to use this matter to make a comeback, when suddenly a phone rang behind him. It's Lu Yuan. He glanced at the screen and picked it up to answer. A clear voice emanated from the microphone. He asked, Uncle, didn't you come to work today? Why aren't you in the office? Lu Yuan paused and instinctively looked at Song Shiwei in front of him. Heng returned to China early.